Welcome back. Well, yesterday we started our exploration of how to display our collections, the really effective displays and the not so effective displays. And yesterday we took a look at small items and how we can effectively display those. We took a look at plates in particular, mostly because that's a subject that is near and dear to the hearts of most thrifters. We can find great plates on our travels. And also, quite frankly, it is an incredibly inexpensive but tremendously dramatic way to enhance a room. Yeah, sure, you could put up a $50,000 Monet on your wall, or you could go out, thrift yourself a half a dozen plates, pop them up, and well, okay, it's not going to be the same as a Monet, but you're definitely going to have some eye candy up there. So, eyes. We need to speak about that. Yesterday, I erroneously identified softballs as golf balls. Now, thank you so much to all those of you who were so quick to cover up for my failing vision by saying, oh no, Sue just misspoke. No. No, Sue is blind. And in fact, that's how my blindness tends to manifest itself. You will see something, you'll be able to pick up the difference between a softball and a golf ball in a photograph very quickly. Me, nah, I gotta have that thing in my hand. So, thank you for covering for me. My apologies that my blindness had an impact on the video, but nevertheless, I was just so touched by how quick you all were to make excuses for me. Thank you. All right, when we come back, we are going to start to look at other ways to display our items. So, we'll be back in a second. All right, let's start with this. And this is something that, oh my goodness, there was a time when I was actively dealing in vintage and antique dolls, and actually some new dolls as well, when I was just up to my nose hairs in displays like this. People would send pictures of how they were showing off their dolls. And boy, a lot of them looked like this. Now, I'm sure you can tell immediately what the problem is with this, and never mind the very utilitarian shelves. The issue is really that you can't see the forest for the trees. You can't see the dolls for the dolls. Nothing is really visible when there's that much stuff there. This rather looks like an effective way to store toys in a children's bedroom. But is this what I think of when I think of an adult collection on display? No, not by a long shot. This one, and again, this is just coincidence, mostly toys. And this very much looks like the way one might display toys in a child's bedroom. We have a number of printing trays here, and they are all just crammed to the gills with strange assorted stuff. If there is a theme to this collection other than penny toys, I can't figure out what it is. It seems to just be everything this person ever encountered in their lifetime, dating back to their childhood in Depression era 1930s. Too much? When it's this much, you don't see anything. Let's take a look at another one. Now this one is a little more tragic, because whereas the two previous displays were very likely to be children's toys and very likely to be things of very minor monetary value, this is a beautiful collection of silhouettes. It's very likely some of these are old. It's very likely most of these were hand done from an era when that's what people did. Individually, any one of them is worth its own display. Again, the problem is you just can't see the stuff for the stuff. Now, this display, if you took maybe a quarter of that display, perhaps a quarter of the owner's favorites, or the oldest, or the most valuable, or, don't even find a theme, just pick them at random, and group them on the wall at around eye level, that would make a wonderfully impactful display. This is just overwhelming. So let's take a look at another one, because we're going to try to ease out of this a bit. This one is not quite as overdone as the previous three displays we saw. But as you will see later, it's not horrendous, but it's definitely not great either. There are a lot of things that this collector did that I just do not think are a good idea. For one thing, many of the individual sets of glasses are separated. So you'll have one glass on the top shelf, its matching companion on the second shelf down, etc. The conventional wisdom is group like things together. So if you have 3 sherbet glasses from the same set, cluster them together. Now, keep in mind, when I say conventional wisdom, that is not necessarily my conventional wisdom. That is the conventional wisdom of decorators for many, many decades. They have been saying this. Do we want to group like colors together? Well, as you can see, although there is a certain flow to this, because they did do this according to the color spectrum, red to purple to blue to green to yellow. Boy, they got that part right. But that's probably not the best way to do it in this case. This is a display that would probably be improved by packing half of it away and combining other items, because it's very often the negative space or the contrasting items that highlight the pieces you want to show off. And we'll see this as we look at some other photos. Now, I thought we would take a look at specific items of display storage, because we looked at dishware storage yesterday. We looked at small item storage for hanging on the walls, but we didn't look very much at traditional storage pieces, display pieces. And we're starting off with a classically styled secretary here. Now, this is a display secretary, and we can tell that display is a big part of this because both the upper and the lower doors are glassed. And notice, we've got books, but we've also got a plant, we've got a picture. We have a coffee cup, but I don't think the coffee cup is there for display. I think that's just staging the photograph. We have things besides the books. We have a little bit of contrast. And frankly, the books show better because of it. Here is another, and this is a more traditional secretary in that the top portion has glass doors, the bottom portion has drawers, so you can see it's a secretary. It's supposed to be a working secretary, but it does have display space, even though it wasn't designed solely to be a display cabinet the way the last one was. And once again, we have a number of items in here. It looks like we have a little head, we have some books, we have something that may be coral. I don't know. And after my misstep with the softballs yesterday, you tell me what that little orange thing is on the lower shelf. This is strictly a display cabinet, and it's holding rocks. And rock hunters, by the way, love cabinets like this. If you know anyone who collects minerals, they've got at least one cabinet like this. It's very useful. It's very utilitarian. Is it the best way to display your stuff? Well, I would say no. I would say the best way to display your stuff is to integrate it into your life. Nevertheless, this is a good option. And here we have another secretary. This one is older. It's been painted. Eek, you know how I feel about that. It is showing off kitchen items, dishware, and canisters. We've even got some cutting boards in there. I wanted you to see this, not because I'm fond of the painting of the wood, although to be fair, cabinets like this were often veneered, and the veneer often got chipped and chipped badly, and sometimes painting really was the solution. But I wanted you to see this because what we have here is a classic living room or bedroom piece, a secretary, that's been moved into the kitchen, and it's working well as a display piece. And by the way, the fact that it has a few drawers on the bottom probably makes it a really convenient piece to have in the kitchen. These are turn-of-the-century glass front cabinets. Originally, these were used, the one on the left was used to display dishes and porcelain items. So it would have been your plates, your figurines, your vases. Again, as I say, turn of the century, beautiful oak. And by the way, those side pieces, that is curved glass. And today, if you break that glass, boy, you will pay a fortune to replace it. Now, the one on the right was a bookcase, a small bookcase. And as you can see, this is being used to house rock collections. As I said, if you are a rock hunter, boy, you've got your rocks somewhere. And generally speaking, you can never have enough cabinets. Cabinets like this, as you can see, these are being used to store rocks. They could be used to display just about anything. And they are useful. Around here, you can still get them very affordably. Lutz Antiques always has beautiful pieces like this. And I swear if I had the floor space, I would just go in and buy every last one of them because these are fantastic pieces. This one, I thought you'd get a kick out of this. I'm sure you are thinking to yourself, oh my, a dollhouse on a table. No, this is not a dollhouse. This is a cabinet designed to look like a dollhouse. So here's the inside. Now, if you will notice, by the way, the lower shelf goes right in between the middle of the windows and does not correspond to the floors of a dollhouse. So you can tell right then and there, this is not supposed to be a working dollhouse. This is a display cabinet. The reason I wanted to include this is, first of all, it's quirky. It's also very beautiful and it's expensive. So I'm not saying, boy, take out a second mortgage and rush out and buy that. But I wanted you to see the incredible variety of storage cabinets you can find, and something like this tells you that you can turn anything into a display cabinet. An old radio, the guts don't work, take it out, use the case as a cabinet. Anything can be used as a display cabinet. Now let's move from here on to pieces that are not cabinets, but were nevertheless designed to hold collections. Coffee tables. We are starting off with a mission style coffee table. This is not an old mission piece. This is a modern repro in the mission style. And boy, we have everything. It looks like we have Civil War memorabilia in this one. And that is somebody's coffee table. That's supposed to be sitting right in front of their sofa. And that is a great way to show off collectibles. We're going to take a look at another. This is more contemporary. And also, of the two, this is the older piece. This piece probably dates from the 1980s. And as you can see, we've got a collection of something or other in there. I don't really know what. But frankly, almost anything that can be displayed flat. For example, do you have Chinese paper fans you want to show off? Well, perfect. Now this is a little different. This is a glass-topped end table, and there is a glass case. So this lower shelf is actually surrounded by glass. I don't know if you can see that. It has glass sides. You can throw your plants in there, and that's what it was designed for, like sort of a terrarium. Put your plants on top, but something like that. You can also put all kinds of collectibles in there. They would be visible if you're standing in front of the end table. They are visible if you're sitting in that chair looking down through the glass top. In this case, we're seeing it used for what it was designed for, which, as I say, is terrarium. It was designed to hold plants. But just because that's what the manufacturer had in mind does not mean that Grandma's teacup collection can't go in there. This is another variation of that. We have a glass-topped coffee table here, and the lower shelf, this slatted shelf, you can put anything you want in there. They have two large silvery balls in there. But this is going to move us on to the next thing we're going to look at, which is living with your collection right at your fingertips. What we have here, in addition to that wonderful display space that is, frankly, underutilized at the lower end of this coffee table, is we have collections of stuff. We've got 4 plants, we've got 3 candlesticks, we've got a bowl of fruit, we've got 3 or 4 books there. I would be willing to bet serious money that not a single thing on that coffee table had any sentimental value to the homeowner. That this is just stuff there that it's there for the sake of decoration. So why not clear all that stuff off and put down a tray with a few of your favorite little items, or big items. Those candlesticks, boy, they look like they're a good 3 feet tall. Put your big stuff on it. A coffee table of that size, you could actually put out part of your collection of floor vases on this. So, definitely consider that. Why put out something that has no meaning for you? You just saw it in a decorator magazine, when you could literally have your own grandmother's china teacups that she personally drank out of, sitting in your space, available to you and your guests every day. Here's another display. This is smaller. We have a much, much smaller table. Again, we have a collection of candles here. I would venture to guess that these candles and candlesticks are not part of the homeowner's collection. Instead, they're a decorating statement. Well, I personally would rather see the homeowner's collection of alarm clocks, maybe not all of them, but maybe 3 or 4 of their alarm clocks there on that tray instead. I would rather see some of their Cupid dolls there. And frankly, I would imagine the homeowner would like that a little more too. Once again, and for some reason, this is something people go for. Just this mad assortment of candlesticks on the coffee table. In this case, it's an ottoman being used as a coffee table. But still, we've got half a dozen candlesticks here. What looks like it might be a crystal ball, so, for all I know, this is the home of a practicing witch. None of that gives me the impression that it is personally meaningful to the homeowner. Unless, of course, that joke was accurate and they really are a witch and that really is their favorite crystal ball. In general, this is just stuff you would pick up at TJ Maxx for the sake of staging your coffee table. No, it always looks staged when you do that, but just consider having your little collection of ceramic elephants or whatever it is you collect in that tray instead. Now this is getting a little closer to what I had in mind. Here we have a small tray, we have some shells, we have a vase with the, home sweet home or whatever that is, and a candle. However, instead of that, and what is that, eucalyptus? It looks like eucalyptus. So instead of that, wouldn't that be nice if you just had maybe a few of your Seminole Indian dolls? Here is another one. And again, we've got a mixed assortment. We've got a couple of deer. We've got a few candles in cups. None of that is valuable stuff. Look at that. That is, TJ Maxx. That is Target. We are not talking fine items here. Why are people so determined to show that off when almost anything in your home is probably going to be more interesting and engaging than this? And of course, here is yet another coffee table. And this is plants, books, and empty bowls again. Oh, and yes, candles, because they all have to have the mandatory candles. It just goes to show you how trite displays like this are. They are everywhere. Again, it looks staged. It's so impersonal. Imagine what a real display of real collectibles could do. Before we pull away from these designer staged displays completely, what I want to do is show you a couple more, and instead of candles, picture just random collectibles here. As you can see, what we have is a template for displaying our own stuff. We just need to make sure it's our stuff and not some decorator's idea of what our stuff should be. Now, I had mentioned yesterday I was going to show you glass jars, but I completely ran out of time. So here we go to glass jars. Glass jars are a great way to display small stuff. And if you take a look at this, what we've got here is a collection. We've got golf tees, we've got mass cards, we've got garden faucets. Just goes to show you, if it will fit in a glass jar, you can display it in a glass jar. Here's another display of stuff, mostly shells and buttons, in a set of glass jars. I did want you to see this, but I am going to tell you, don't set up your display like this. This is a very static and very boring display. What you have is 4 square jars lined up according to height, and then 2 round jars, again, lined up according to height. Don't do that. Mix them up. Oh, P.S. Get rid of the troll. This, by the way, is a great jar. It's pressed glass with an Art Deco design in it, and it's holding wooden finials. And there is a large wooden finial just standing independently next to the jar. That is just a really nice display that probably takes up, how much room does a pickle jar take up? Very little space. There's your collection. And here, this is modern gasket sealed jars. And it looks like they're holding marbles and heaven only knows what else. Great little display, especially if what you collect are marbles or buttons or golf balls or anything small like this. And finally, I wanted to show you 2 things that maybe we'll pick up on some other time. If you want to put your collectibles on display, don't forget about the free display space that is in your home to begin with. So here, above the kitchen cabinets. Now, there was a time when people decorated the area over their kitchen cabinets. That was in the 80s and 90s. It was quite a thing. But when I say decorated their kitchen cabinets, I mean they would put up a plant and a sculpture and they would stage the scene. If you have a collection of vases, and that's something we all have trouble with. What do you do with your vases when you don't happen to have fresh flowers at the moment? Well, wouldn't it be very effective to simply line them up on top of your cabinets? Yeah, you're going to have to wash them more often, but gee, at least you can enjoy them. And here, again, more free display space. This is in front of a shelf of books, and somebody's got a little collection of alarm clocks laid out there. All right, so because once again I've gone over my allotted time, my apologies, we are just going to have to cut this short and run. I want you all to have a terrific day. If you are among those who join us for the Just Chatting videos, that will be tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. For those of you overseas, that is New York City time. And for those of you who are just with us for the thrifting and project videos, we will be back next weekend. Meantime, have a terrific day, and we're going to take a look at a slideshow on the way out.